Hello there. Welcome back to the channel. This is Carrie with Blue City Pickin' and Sellin', and this is going to be Ching number 9 for the week of October 27th. What sold? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Ching, and then I've got a little like story time and question for you guys. But first, I just want to thank everybody. I have hit 100 subscribers and I'm just could not be more ecstatic. Thank you for those of you who keep coming back and watching the videos as well. So I very much appreciate it. Let's get into some numbers. For the week of October 27th, I sold 31 items, which is still a little low. So I'm not quite seeing the rebound for Q4 yet, but I will tell you it was almost immediate that the day after Halloween sales started increasing, even though the coupon dropped off of my shop. So I've been pleased with what's happened since Halloween, and you'll see some of that here. I sold, like I said, 31 items for a total all-in sales amount of $982.11. The purchase price, put it at $745.72. So that's excluding taxes and shipping. I paid $152.28 for the inventory that did sell. And then my gross profit for the week was $452.91, which I think is not that bad. Average sale price was at $31.68 all in, $24.06 for what the buyer offered me, and I accepted pre-tax, pre-shipping. My average purchase price was $4.91, and my gross profit was $14.61. That's actually a little skewed because of some of the consignment items in there. So I'd say I was probably close to $15, which is perfection. I'm trying to get back to 15, and I want to move up towards $20 per item so that I can put more value on my time that I spend here. The average number of days on platform for this week was 101. So my best sale of the week was about $75 paid by the buyer, and my worst was $7.16. I lost my mind there for just a minute. And then the gross profit, my highest was $55 and the lowest was just right around $5. So all in all, not terrible. Could be better. So we'll see where we head there, but I'm pretty pleased with the week. Oh, and the fastest selling item was within 2 days, and the slowest was at 219. So without further ado, let's get into this. The first thing that sold was this Stargate Atlantis Wraith Dart Best Lock Construction. I picked this up in a toy auction back in April. I paid $10 for it. The buyer paid $30. My profit was $14.74, and it took 189 days to sell. I don't know that I would pick this up again. I was just trying to get some additional items at this auction, so it made sense for me to drive out there and pick the other ones up. So not bad, 15 bucks. Next up is this carved stone little mini gargoyle. It was very, very small. I picked this up at that church rummage sale not too long ago. I paid $1 for it. The buyer paid $15.59. And when I say what the buyer paid, that is without shipping and taxes. And I had a gross profit of $15.82. I'm assuming that I made a little bit back on shipping unintentionally, and it was in my store for 12 days. Next up is this Webkins. It was a gorilla. It had an unused code. Picked this up at an estate sale back in April for $1. The buyer paid $7.92, so I made $5.43, and it took 197 days to sell. The Webkins are really hit or miss for me. I picked up 3 or 4 at that sale. I think I still have 1 left. So not a lot of effort or anything to list them, so I don't definitely like on the lower end of bread and butter. So I don't know that I would pick them up again because the more you have, it takes up a decent amount of space. Next item that I sold was this Eden teddy bear plush, and shout out to the Rebel reseller for saying to look for like terry cloth and like waffle knit fabrics. I picked this up at an estate sale for $2. The buyer paid $39.16 and I profited $29.73, and that took 54 days to sell. The next item is this Bagatelle suede jacket. You might have seen this in one of my Goodwill Shop With Me shorts. I picked this up for $9.99. The buyer paid $30.42. Like when I said, when I got it home, there were a couple ink stains on it that I did not see in the store, so I had to mark it down a little bit. I still made $14.02 in 4 days, so I'm good with that, given the flaws that were on the coat. Next up is this Ann Taylor wide leg pants. This came from a home closet clean out, so I had $0 in on this. The buyer paid $14.40 and I profited $12.59 in 45 days. Next up is this Bagalini women's crossbody bag. It was red, it had a turn lock on it. I picked this up at Goodwill and I did pay up for it. I paid $10.24, but I've had good luck selling Bagalinis and they don't sit in my inventory usually for very long. So I paid $10.24. The buyer paid $26.52. I profited $14.74 in 23 days. Next up is a part of a Les Keep, I believe it's how you pronounce it, pulp. Like a juicer that I bought back in April at a Goodwill. I parted it out because the actual motor did not work. I paid I think I assigned $2 per item that I parted out, and the buyer paid $7.92 and I profited $4.35, and it took 153 days to sell. Next up is a set of original manufacturer GM carpet floor mat. This was the front right of a Yukon. I actually cleaned these out of my house or my parents' house. I can't remember. So I have $0 into it. The buyer paid $23.12 and I made $21.78. I listed these back in June, so they took 137 days to sell. Next item is this FootJoy men's jacket. It was an extra, extra large, so great size. There were no picks, tears, or stains on the jacket. Found this at a Goodwill for $7.14. Sold it for $30.38, and I made $16.72, and it sold within 49 days. Next item is this Michael Kors zip around like wallet checkbook. It was brand new. I sold this for the charity that I can sign for. It sold for, where did it go? $30. Profited $26.71, and it took 34 days to sell. So that was a great profit back to them. Next item is this vintage, like mid-century modern ironwood seal. Sea lion. I am not great with animals. I picked this up at an auction back in May with a couple other ironwood figurines. I sold this one for $14.74. I had $4.98 into it, so I made $6.87, and it took 171 days to sell. Not something I would pick up again. Next item is this Boyd's Bear. This was JB Bean. He had his tag. I picked him up at an auction back in May where I bought like a whole shelf of plush for $1. I've already sold some of the plush, so I have $0 cost of goods in this. And this the buyer paid $7.16, and I profited $6.27. And it's sold within 164 days. Once again, not something I would pick up again. Next item is this pair of new with tags Skechers men's sandals. They were a size 12, and I picked these up at Goodwill for $9.24. I ended up, the buyer paid $31.20, and so I profited $17.54 within 25 days. So I'm happy with that return. Blaze and the Monster Machines is up next. I picked up this die-cast lot of 6 cars from a kids consignment sale back at the end of August. I added in something that we had at our home that I was looking to sell as well, and made a big lot of the Blaze trailer and the cars. The buyer paid $30.38. I had paid $4 for that lot of cars, and so my profit was $19.24, and it sold within 65 days of listing. Next up is actually my fastest sale of the week. I got so much flack from my kids for picking this up, but I just knew it was going to sell, and I don't know why. So this was a vintage Diane Gilman 100% silk. So I looked at the tag, I was like, holy smackers. It was a bomber style jacket, and it was red, and it had these really cool like gold embellishments on it, and it was also a 3X. I got this, it was the color of the week, so I paid $3 for this beauty. The buyer paid $31.20. And I profited $25.69 in just 2 days. So absolutely wonderful, ecstatic with that flip. Next item is actually the thing that took the longest to sell this particular week. This was a new in box Fisher Price like Chasing Rainbows bead toy. I paid $3.99 at this for this at Goodwill back in February, and it took 219 days to sell. The buyer paid $12.68, and I profited $5.02. Will not be picking that up again. Another fast sale this week, I was picked up this set of new in box Dymo labels at Goodwill for just $1. Back in late October, it sold within 3 days for $12, and I profited $9.07. So super happy also with that particular flip. Next item is this new with tags Spider Goose Down vest. I picked this up at Goodwill back in April, knowing that it was probably going to take some time to sell because it was not the season for goose down then. The buyer I paid $9.99 for it. The buyer paid $38.18, and I profited $24.36, but it did take 189 days to sell. Next item, something I would not pick up again. This was a lot of 3 Super 7 ghost figures. Don't know a whole lot about it. I picked this up at a toy auction, probably the same one that I got that Stargate Atlantis figure from. I paid $3.75 for all 3 of them. The buyer paid $14, and I profited $6.82, but it took 163 days to sell. Next item is actually my lowest profiting item of the week, and this was a Vera Bradley small purse that I picked up at an estate sale back in April as well. I bought probably 4 or 5 Veras at that sale, and some of them have sold for more, so I'm okay with this lower profit because I just put an average cost of goods on everything from that sale of $4. It sold for $8, and so I profited $2.08, but this one also took 200 days to sell, so I will not be picking up that type of Vera again. Next item was finally the absolute last of these Mickey Mouse Halloween like votive tea holders. I lost money on the other 2, and this one I made money on, so I could not be more pleased. This one sold on Halloween for $18.95. I did pay $10.54 for it, so I made a couple bucks on it, but it did take 153 days to sell. I will not be picking those up ever again. Next item, right on November 1st, the Christmas stuff started to sell. This was a vintage Jingle Bell Rock Santa. He was super cute, shaked his tush. He was from 1998. He worked. I paid $5.99 for him at Goodwill back in September. The buyer paid $28.95 and I profited $18.56 in just 80 days. Let's see. Next item is this set of two RWP like Wilton. They were very heavy pewter mugs. I picked these up at my local thrift store for $6.29 for both of them. The buyer paid $21.60 and my profit was $10.17 in 51 days. Well, not a huge profit, super easy pictures, super easy listers, easy shippers. So I would pick those up again if I found them out and about. Next item. This was my best sale of the week and also one of the faster ones. If you see these, snag these. I don't know what it is about them, but they sure do sell great. This was a vintage LL Bean women's chore coat. It was a size small, which I was a little bit concerned about, and there was some fraying in the flannel around the wrists, but it had the removable liner was still there. I picked this up at a yard sale for $5 and it sold in 3 days for $75 and I made $55.92. And I'm just pleased as anything with that particular flip. Here's another good one. I picked up this American Tourister rolling duffel bag from Goodwill back in August for $9.99. Buyer paid $39. I profited $26.83 in 77 days. So another nice sale. Next item is this oval serving plate dish that I picked up at Goodwill just a few weeks ago. You may have seen it in one of my shorts where it was a shop with me. It sold, I paid $3.59 for it because it came with a couple other bowls that I split the price across. It sold for $23.20 and I profited $16.36 in just 5 days. Next item is a new with tag Vineyard Vines like dip, like sweatshirt type thing. This was new with tags. I did pay up for it at Goodwill back in February, thinking it would sell for more. Nope. It sold for $26.48. My gross profit was only $8.24 and it took 199 days to sell. So I will not be picking up that particular style of Vineyard Vines anymore. I'm not sure if people have had other luck with things from Vineyard Vines. I just thought new with tag it would sell and it did not. Next item is another long tail one. This was a vintage 90s gunned, really soft plush teddy bear. It had its bow was still attached. It looked like it had never been handled, hugged, or anything. So it was in immaculate condition. I did pay up for this at $5.99 at Goodwill back in February. Notice there's some trends that things I would not pick up again being older. The buyer paid $14.21. I profited $7.21 and it took 198 days to sell. Next item is this Lego Duplo Safari set. It had the Jeep, the trailer, a couple guides, and a couple animals and a tree in it. I picked up a huge Lego Duplo lot back in March at an estate sale, and I've sold most of it, so I have a $0 cost of goods on this particular small set. I sold this for $19.12. My gross profit was $16.14, but it did take 168 days to sell. And then last but not least, on the list of things that I would never pick up again, I purchased this Coach women's black logo. It was a double-handled tote. It is real. I paid $11.99 at Goodwill for this. I have sold this before and it came back to me, so I'm hoping this time it sticks. I sold it this time for $23.16. My profit was $7.19, which is basically going to put me at break even when I take into account the return shipping the last time that this was purchased. And it sold within 89 days of being relisted. The original purchase date, I believe, was earlier than that, but I don't know that I have record of that right in front of me. So all in all, not a bad week, but I did want to have a little bit of a story time and see how you have handled some of these things in the past. So I shipped out a large piece of luggage to someone out in Oregon. It was very expensive to ship it. I think it was like $17 to ship this piece of luggage that cost $30. And it was a very nice Hartman tweed, like 3-compartment duffel, like not even a duffel, like a weekender bag. It was very big. It did have some damage on it, which is why it was only $30, but it's still incredible quality. It was very clean inside. It just had some discoloration on the outside. And I'd only paid $5 for it, so I was fine with taking $30 for the offer. Well, it went out to Oregon. The post office deemed it undeliverable. The buyer has said that that is their address and the post office screwed up. However, it is now lost in the mail. But because it was returned to sender, I can't file a claim. But the buyer, and I'm not faulting them for this at all, has put in a claim of item not delivered. And so I'm out all of my profit and the shipping at this point. So I've lost money on this transaction right now because I can't put in a claim with the Postal Service that this thing has not been returned to me. And anytime you try to go do it, it's like error, error, error. It's returned to sender, error, error, error. Has anybody ever had that happen? And what have you done? Like, were you able to find a workaround in the Postal Service system to figure that out? I have not. Every time I click on something, it basically just takes me back to the same page and makes it to where you can't do anything, which is incredibly irritating, but not super surprising given our Postal Service's lack of customer service. But let me know if you've ever had anything like that happen in your eBay store. What have you done? How have you handled it? I would appreciate your comments and feedback there. Once again, thank you so much for watching. If you've made it to the end, I appreciate you more than you know. This is a fun side thing for me to do, selling things on eBay, and I just get so excited when I have good sales, and so I'm super happy with this week's results, and I look forward to sharing more with you next time. Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.